What is up, everybody? John TheMorgile here for a quick update on the book that I'm working on, The Morgiles Guide to the Flat Earth. I'm crowdsourcing support in order to, write and publish the book. I want to give you guys an update on it. I have received a little bit of community support, which is greatly appreciated. So I want to do a couple of quick shout outs. Quick shout out to Richard V, Desiree L, Anders L, Matthew D, James W, Amanda M, Stephen H, Thomas V, Maximo S, and Dominic. And so far, since I've launched the crowdsourcing announcement, I haven't set up any GoFundMe account. People have suggested that I do that. To me, that just seems like one more thing, that I have to keep track of and do when I'm already juggling a lot. I suppose if enough people request that I set up fan funding, then I guess I could do that. But at this point, again, what I'm doing is I'm trying to add credibility and legitimize the Flat Earth movement by publishing a complete overview of the Flat Earth truth. Because, this goes far beyond, the Earth either being a ball in space or being a stationary plane. I mean, that's basic geometry, and if you look at it at face value, what's the difference? A lot of people don't see the difference, and this question gets asked a lot, and honestly, subconsciously, sort of sub rosa, or without us knowing it, this makes a huge difference in our paradigm. And once a person realizes the truth that theoretical physics, the Big Bang, and other planets and galaxies are theoretical nonsense, it changes the perspective of the entire world. In the infinite universe theory, the Copernican principle theory universe, the Earth effectively amounts to nothing. A small speck of dust, sort of aimlessly drifting through an endless cosmos full of galaxies, which are full of other grains of dust. And, when you sort of have that underlying perspective, it may not cross your mind all the time, but we base our entire worldview, the entire way we see ourselves and see others, based on this principle that in the grand scheme of things, the Earth itself isn't all that special, right? And I think that is the biggest, most dangerous part of this great deception, is it belittles us as sovereign entities. It belittles the Earth, which is a grand, massive, mysterious creation, and it focuses everything on the sun. And throughout history, there's always been a trend of sun worshippers, and there's probably good reason for that, but that rabbit hole actually goes very deep, a little bit too deep for this sort of update on the book review. But again, so far we've raised $317.45. I want to especially thank the several people that have already contributed to help out. If you would like to help out and support the effort and help crowdsource this book that will be a landmark in flat Earth history going forward, you can do so via PayPal. There's a direct link that makes it a little easier. It's paypal.me/TheMorgile1. So again, that's paypal.me/TheMorgile1, and that's the number 1. I'll put it up on screen, and I'll put a link in the description. If you'd prefer to send through PayPal, the regular old way, you can send it to jonelance@gmail.com. Either way is fine. As of 5 days ago, or as of February the 28th, YouTube stopped doing fan funding, so that's no longer an option. And so since that has happened, I may end up doing a GoFundMe campaign for the publication. But at this point, I'd probably reach out to somebody with some experience with it to help, because I've poked around at GoFundMe before and I didn't have success with it. But again, I was juggling a lot of things and I didn't exactly give it 100% effort. Honestly, I didn't see an end result reason for a GoFundMe campaign. However, since I've started on the book, and again, at this point, I'm up to 48 pages, or 47 and a half full pages, and it's going strong. I was originally thinking it was going to be like a 150 to 200 page book, but at this point, I would not be surprised if it exceeds 300 pages. Either that, or I may have to do it in multiple sections. But it's still, very much a work in progress. I've had people offer to help with editing, which is much appreciated. I've had people offer to help with ideas, which, ideas are certainly welcome. Um, Here's the deal with my phone, and I'm waiting on a call back any minute from my service provider, who is TracFone. Now, I will say that TracFone is a prepaid cell phone service, because the reason that I use it, and I'm certainly not advocating it because I'm extremely mad at TracFone right now, but I've essentially used it for so long and I don't have a month-to-month plan, so I do not have to pay. If I don't use the phone much, I don't pay for it. If I use the phone a lot, I put some money in it. I can go 3 months without putting money on that phone and nothing happens, whereas if you're on a month-to-month, you have to pay that every month or they cut your service off. So that's why I opted to get a prepaid phone, and I put money on it as needed and when I have extra money available, because of course I have a home phone which is in there charging right now. So anyway, on this TracFone account, I've had several different TracPhones over the last several years. I've been sort of a loyal customer, and I will say that TracPhone's customer service is pretty much non-existent. They are the least helpful customer service agents I've ever dealt with, and that's saying a lot because I've dealt with AT&T quite a bit as well. Essentially, what happened with my phone, and this was a brand new phone that I just bought. The other brand new phone that I just bought, it was one of those smartphones, the face cracked and it stopped working. So this one I had just bought, I kept my same number, kept my service, which, by the way, the benefit to doing the services I do is every time you put money on your phone, you get either 30, 60, or 90 service days added to your account. And so over the years, I've accumulated so many service days that even if I never put another dime on that phone, it would have service until the year 2035. So as long as I left at least 1 minute on it, I could receive calls, and the caller ID would show up. I could check voicemails. There would be service on that phone until 2035. And of course, I had hundreds of minutes, which there are 3 modules on a smartphone prepaid plan. There's talk minutes, text minutes, and data minutes, and I had hundreds of each, a little over 100 of each. So what happened was a few days ago, it was last week, it was sort of late at night, my friend needed me to help them change their tire, so I agreed to help. And on the way there, it's about a 10-minute drive, it just started, the weather just went crazy. It started pouring down rain. It was a little bit drizzly when I left, but it wasn't bad. It started pouring down rain. The winds picked up to I don't know, it's hard to say, 50, 60, 70 miles an hour. And on the way down there, I had got 7 calls that I wasn't able to answer them all because I was literally on the phone. But it turns out that my wife had been calling me trying to tell me that there was a tornado right where I was going. So the long and short of it is it must have been when I got out of the car, the wind literally, when I just opened up the door, just barely, the wind took it and almost snapped the door off. That's how windy it was, and it was sort of, alarming. And what I think happened is I got up with my cell phone in my lap, and the wind took it, and it would have been wet, destroyed probably instantly. And so I tried calling it. I immediately knew it was gone. I tried calling it. I checked around in the car. It was gone. The phone was absolutely gone. So we did, change the tire, got that done, and the phone never got found. And so when I got home, I called Track Phone to let them know that I lost my brand new phone and to find out if they could send me a replacement because it was brand new, and I'm 100% sure that I paid, it was like $299 for some sort of extended warranty. I'm 99% sure that I opted for some sort of an extended or enhanced warranty on it or whatever. And so the customer service agent said, well, the first thing we need to do is deactivate the phone to make sure that nobody steals it, which in retrospect was a silly thing to do because I could have at least tried to keep calling it just to see if maybe it would ring and somebody would find it. So I said, okay, fine, deactivate the phone, and if I find it, then we can obviously reactivate it, right? And they said, yes, of course. So the phone was never found anyway, and it's been days, so the phone is lost. I'm not going to get that phone back. However, what happened is that guy, the customer service agent, not only did he deactivate my phone, but he totally deactivated my cell phone service with TrackPhone. So I got an email on the 3rd, which is 3 days ago as of today. Don't you guys just love my personal customer service horrible experiences? We've all had them, right? So I was just checking through my emails today, and I noticed on the 3rd that I got an email from TrackPhone saying, better hurry. It was like an advertisement, right? Better hurry. This is your last day to add airtime or your account will be deactivated. And so it was just happenstance that I saw this email. I was cleaning out my inbox, which has literally at this point over 5,000 unread emails. So sometimes I work from the bottom up, sometimes I work from the top down just to try to get through them, but they always seem to increase. But at any rate, I did notice this one from TrackPhone from 3 days ago, basically telling me my account is totally shut down, which means if any potential business clients through Odesk try to call me on that, they'll get a disconnected number. I'm not able to check my voicemails, and as it stands right now, I have no service on it. So if you've been trying to reach me by that cell phone for the last 3 or 5 days, I'm not sure. Well, obviously since I lost it, but for the last 3 days, it's literally a disconnected number. If you want to call me to talk about the book, you can reach me at the home number, which is 864-327-9373. You can also email me at the same email account that's tied to the PayPal account, which again is jonelance@gmail.com. Although it may take a while for me to respond to email, it is best to just call. Needless to say, I spent 3 hours and 45 minutes on the phone with TrackPhone customer service and essentially accomplished nothing. I'm waiting on one of their supervisors to call me back so that they can reactivate my cell phone account. So hopefully that's what they'll do. I even suggested that since they put me through all this trouble, they should go ahead and send me a replacement phone, seeing how it was brand new and it was lost in a frickin' tornado. If they had any sort of moral compass, they'd send me a replacement. I just literally spent $80 on that phone. I don't even think it's been 90 days. It's certainly not been 90 days. So hopefully, they will at least restore my service, but as of right now, my cell phone number that I've had for many years is disconnected. So we shall see what happens with that. And like I said, I'm still waiting on a call. I started calling them at 11 o'clock this morning when I saw the email, and it is now 4:30 in the afternoon, and still no resolution has been made. So if you're thinking about getting a track phone, it's got its benefits. By the way, I'm almost positive that TrackPhone and Net10 are the same company because they have the same customer service agents working for them, or so it would seem, and the exact same customer service layout. And in fact, when you call the 800 number for TrackPhone, if I'm not mistaken, they say for TrackPhone press 1, for Net10 press 2. So it's almost like a false dichotomy of competition, and they of course outsource their customer service to countries where they don't much speak English. But anyway, I have seen a lot of messages and a lot of emails from people and a lot of comments and such from people supporting my effort in the book. So I just wanted to let you guys know that it is going very well. The subject matter is just something that's just so intriguing. There's so much to talk about. Really, the hard part is knowing, sort of where to begin and how to, get into it, where to start, right? I mean, there's just that much subject material in terms of disproving the heliocentric model and showing that the Earth is a stationary plane. But ultimately, the goal of this publication is going to be something that will it will not be able to be debunked. Okay, that is my goal, is to write it in such a way so as to completely debunk the heliocentric model, prove conclusively, or in proving conclusively, that the Earth is not a spinning sphere, and it is indeed a stationary plane, is really a groundbreaking, life-changing thing that needs to be at least presented to as many people as possible. And I think that social media is absolutely flooded with flat Earth. I think that's great. I still continue to contribute to it. As a matter of fact, I'm finishing up on, I'll be releasing in very shortly, within the next day or two, a 3-hour and 54-minute response to it's a video. I will leave it as a surprise, but I will say that one of the reasons that I've done this is because of the fact that YouTube has all of a sudden muted worldwide my very first flat Earth video called "The Nazis of NASA and the Infinite Plane," and as far as I know, there's absolutely nothing I can do to get that video unmuted worldwide. I actually created that video on an older computer. I may have the files for the original backed up somewhere, but if anybody out there happened to have downloaded an original of that, if you could send it to me, that'd be great, because I do keep backups of my stuff, but that one being that old and on an older computer, and I've moved around quite a bit, and I don't typically store stuff like that in the cloud, although I should use Google Drive more often, but maybe not. Anyway, if anybody out there does have a downloaded copy of The Nazis of NASA and the Infinite Plane, I could redo it in such a way that it won't get all the copyright strikes. But that was my first and actually most popular flat Earth video. There, it's really just amounts to censorship. So that was really what motivated me to do this video that I'm completing right now, that's going to be about 4 hours long and covers many topics refuting the globe Earth hypothesis. The video covers more than 50 reasons the Earth is not flat. Each and every one of those I refute in detail, which you sort of have to. Right, and I've said this before, but Globers can simply say a phrase like gravity or the Coriolis effect, and that automatically, debunks flat Earth, right? And so, in order to debunk heliocentrism, first you have to explain to the globe head that things like gravity are a theory that are only necessary if you assume that the Earth is a spinning sphere in outer space, which there's no evidence for. Gravity cannot be demonstrated, proven, falsified. It merely exists in the realm of theory, and in fact does not exist. Of course, we're not arguing what goes up must come down. That is a true law of nature. However, gravity as a warping of space and time by the allegedly spherical Earth doesn't exist. And, the other mention of things like the Coriolis effect is one of those phrases that Globers can just throw out there. And in order to refute that, you have to understand it and show that the Coriolis effect is not the cause of counter-rotational cyclones in either hemisphere. And there is another explanation for this phenomenon on the flat Earth, being that the sun is perturbing the atmosphere out and away from it, and so sort of like an oar through water or a cupped hand through a bathtub, you'll get counter-rotational cyclonic forces. So in other words, the Coriolis effect is not causal of counter-rotation of cyclonic forces in either hemisphere, and gravity is a mere theory dreamed up by proponents of the globe model in order to support the idea that one can live stuck to the side of a spinning sphere residing in a vacuum, right? So, at any rate, the point is that even though the original video that I'm refuting was relatively short, the refutation of it is necessarily going to be long if done properly, because you first have to explain what these little, sort of catchphrases are in detail, show how they are not exclusive to a spinning spherical Earth, and then provide an alternate hypothesis or an alternate fact that works out just as well, if not better, on the flat stationary Earth. So a prime example of this would be what goes up must come straight down. That works perfectly on the flat Earth, and yet somehow globeheads believe that's exclusive proof that we live on a spinning sphere somehow. This is very amusing, of course, because if we did live stuck to the side of a spinning sphere, then what goes up must come down would be a laughable, preposterous thing. I mean, it wouldn't happen like that. Yet, we have these theories of gravity, which people can't even explain. Even Neil deGrasse himself tells you, yeah, he really doesn't know what gravity is.
What is gravity?
You have no idea. Okay, next question. This is called gravity.
I gotta say, you're totally blowing my mind right now.
That's what I do. I'm Neil deGrasse Tyson, bitch.
Although he will demonstrate it by dropping his microphone. So anyway, this has gone on 20 minutes. I appreciate you guys hanging in there. Hopefully I have a projected date. I don't have any sort of goal to reach yet. I will get more sort of organized with goals and projected dates once I've got a better idea of how many pages we're dealing with. I'm still going to need to go through editing processes. It's probably going to be a doozy, but it is going along well. I'm cranking out pages like nobody's business because it's a topic that I'm intimately familiar with. I do write fairly quickly, and Flat Earth is of course very near and dear to my heart. Hopefully this will be something that a friendly editor won't have to spend too much time ripping apart my work, but sometimes a good editor can bring out the best in a writer by omitting certain things. I mean, it's just that's the way that it goes. So, and again, I have had people offer to help edit, so that is welcomed. Furthermore, I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with Zen Garcia. He's written a number of books, one of which is I'm paraphrasing the title here, but I believe it's Flat Earth, The Key to Unlocking the Book of Enoch, which is very interesting. But Zen Garcia has offered to help me get my book published once it's written. So this is definitely, it's a real thing that I'm working on. I do need community support because, well, I'm working through a temp agency. Some days I work, some days I don't. YouTube is really not a viable source of income. My home-based business is all but lost. I do have a potential client for 10 hours a week looming on the horizon, so that may be a good thing for hopefully a long period. But just reaching out to the community for support. For those of you who want to insult me and call me a beggar and a profiteer, I don't care. Call me what you will. There is no shame in crowdsourcing an effort that is shared, in common with like-minded individuals. That's how great things are done, by working together. Well, for one example, authors often get advances on books that they plan to write based on an idea, and having a good agent and having a publisher that believes in their idea. Now, unfortunately, the crazy truth about the flat Earth isn't exactly something that major publishing houses are going to want to touch with a 10,000-foot pole, nor are writing agents apparently very eager to be involved with crazy flat earthers, right? So this is definitely something that's going to have to be grassroots. It's not going to manifest from the usual channels, which honestly I don't want to be a part of the usual channels anyway when it comes to things like publishing and the media. So that's probably a good thing. Then of course you've got big budget movies as another huge example of funding for a project that's going to amount to an end result of either entertainment or education. In the case of most films, it's of course mindless entertainment and propaganda and programming. In this case, it will be a documentation, an irrefutable documentation of the truth that the Earth isn't a spinning sphere. Movie producers, big budget movie producers, find large sponsors to, spend the millions of dollars to produce their films. And there's other means as well. Like if a film has to do with military stuff, the U.S. military will provide all sorts of support and subsidizing and that sort of thing, as long as the military is portrayed, in a positive light and an accurate light according to the narrative that the military wants portrayed. But filmmaking and writing and narrating and editing and working on getting this flat Earth truth into the mainstream is I'm devoted to it, and so I see, when I have to get out of the house at 3:30 or 4 in the morning to may or may not work, I just see that as a big waste of time when I could be doing something that's going to be more beneficial. And one of the things that comes up a lot in my life is tests of faith. And I hate to get all religious on you, but my faith has been tested very severely several times in the last couple of years, and I got to tell you that God has always pulled through for me. But you got to have faith. I mean, I've been through some really tough times in the last couple of years especially, but those tough times have brought me to this ultimate truth of the flat stationary Earth, which changes everything. It's changed my entire outlook on everything. It gives a person more respect for life. The age-old question, what is the meaning of life? Well, in a heliocentric paradigm, there really is no meaning of life, because there's no meaning to anything. It's just a random, chaotic coincidence that anything even exists, right? So when that all changes, because all it is mind programming. I mean, there really is no evidence that you live on a spinning sphere. It's just been programmed into our minds since we were very young, which is it's very insidious. It's sad, but when rational adults are given the opportunity to scrutinize the heliocentric model, it becomes clear that we're dealing with certainly decades, possibly centuries, or maybe even millennia of well-meaning, misguided scientists operating in error and operating in confirmation bias of a theory that we live on a ball spinning around in space. And one of the main reasons being we can see the sun and the moon, which appear to be balls spinning around in space. Therefore, one logical conclusion may be that we too are a ball spinning around in space. However, that is a leap of logic, and it is completely non sequitur. The sun and the moon and the wandering stars simply are not the Earth, and by all accounts, the Earth is a massive stationary plane. It's not a ball in space. Space, as we think of it, doesn't exist. And so the importance of this topic, it's going to bring down all of theoretical physics as the laughing stock of the last couple hundred years. It's going to change the perspective of things like energy and how we derive energy. And I think that we'll see more of a Tesla-esque way to produce energy as opposed to the Rothschild manner, which is to dig up things that we can burn, claim that they're dead dinosaurs and fossil fuels so that they're finite and expensive based on speculation, of course, and all the while poisoning our atmosphere, poisoning our water, and burning the natural lifeblood of the earth, if you will, for the profit of a few, and so that we can run our cars and buses and trucks and planes. When you realize that petroleum and such are not even necessary, the diesel engine was first designed, I believe, in the late 1800s, certainly in the early 1900s. The diesel engine has been around for well over 100 years, and it was originally designed by a guy named Diesel. What a coincidence. But it was designed to run on peanut oil, which means you don't need gasoline to run a diesel engine. You can also use refined fryer grease from, a fast food joint. They empty out their nasty fryer grease, sometimes daily, sometimes weekly. And that can be filtered and refined to put into a diesel engine and runs just as good as gasoline. And there's other more exotic forms of free energy, but we won't get into all that. The point of this is that most people see the earth as a finite resource where, pretty much everyone has the mindset that the one with the most toys at the end wins, when in reality, we're all equals in terms of we're all on the same plane, right? Nobody's on the top of the world, and the earth itself provides us with everything that we need. That's what it is here for, and that's why we were put here, was to benefit from the earth, enjoy the creation. What good would the earth be with nobody to enjoy it, right? So with that being said, I guess I'll wrap this up. Don't forget, if you'd like to support the book and you just don't have funds, you can watch some of my videos that you haven't seen and just click on the ads. That helps out a little bit. So with that, again, the direct link to PayPal is paypal.me/TheMorgile1. Don't forget to put the 1. I'll put in the links. I'll put a link in the descriptions, or directly through PayPal to jonelance@gmail.com, or just watch some of my videos that you haven't seen. Now, finally, this goes in terms of like setting up a GoFundMe account to support the book effort. If you guys think that that's what I should do, it's hard for me to read all the comments sometimes, but let me know what you think in the comments. If you have any suggestions, or if you want to let me know what you think, call me. My home phone is 864-327-9373. I want to hear what you guys think, but I don't see the difference, and I don't see the point, really, and maybe I'm missing something in just setting up yet another platform for fundraising for this effort. But maybe that's the right thing to do. I don't know. You tell me. I can pretty much guarantee you that most of you guys, or a good chunk of you guys seeing this, have not seen all my flat earth videos. We live in a culture where if something is a week old or a month old, it's like, that's old news, right? I mean, and I'm even guilty of this sometimes, and you got to get past that, because I'll see videos that are 3 days old, and I'll choose that one over one that's a month old, and realize that the one that was a month old was actually better than the brand new one. I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is we live in a culture where everything is just so 5 minutes ago, right? So dig back if you haven't seen all my videos and you're interested in learning more about my journey from a globe head to a globe earth skeptic to a 100% flat earther, then check out some of my older stuff, because I think that it may be helpful, humorous, enlightening, and some of the stuff I'm able to monetize, so that helps out in this effort. So with that, God bless you all. Thanks so much for watching. Spread the word, spread the world, and peace. sourcing announcement. I haven't set up, any GoFundMe account. People have suggested that I do that. To me, that just seems like one more thing, that I have to keep track of and do when I'm already juggling a lot. I suppose if enough people request that I set up fan funding, then I guess I could do that. But at this point, again, what I'm doing is I'm trying to add credibility and legitimize the Flat Earth movement by publishing a complete overview of the Flat Earth truth. Because, this goes far beyond, the Earth either being a ball in space or being a stationary plane. I mean, that's basic geometry, and if you look at it at face value, what's the difference? A lot of people don't see the difference, but and this question gets asked a lot, and honestly, subconsciously, sort of sub rosa or without us knowing it, this makes a huge difference in our paradigm. And once so again, that's paypal.me / the Morgile 1, and that's the number 1. I'll put it up on screen, and I'll put a link in the descripts. If you prefer to send through PayPal, the regular old way, you can send it to jonelance@gmail.com. Either way is fine. As of 5 days ago, or as of February the 28th, YouTube stopped doing fan funding, so that's no longer an option. And so since that has happened, I may end up doing a GoFundMe campaign for the publication. But at this point, I'd probably reach out to somebody with some experience with it to help, because I've poked around at GoFundMe before and I didn't have success with it. But again, I was juggling a lot of things and I didn't exactly give it 100% effort. Honestly, I didn't see an end result reason. Person realizes the truth that theoretical physics, the Big Bang, and other planets and galaxies are theoretical nonsense, it changes the perspective of the entire world. In the infinite universe theory, the Copernican principle theory universe, the Earth effectively amounts to nothing, a small speck of dust, sort of aimlessly drifting through an endless cosmos, full of galaxies which are full of other grains of dust. And when you sort of have that underlying perspective, it may not cross your mind all the time, but we base our entire worldview, the entire way we see ourselves and see others, based on this principle that in the grand scheme of things, the Earth itself isn't all that special, right? And I think that is the biggest, most dangerous part of this great deception, is it belittles us as sovereign entities. It belittles the Earth, which is a grand, massive, mysterious creation, and it focuses everything on the sun. And throughout history, there's always been a trend of sun worshippers, and there's probably good reason for that, but that rabbit hole actually goes very deep, a little bit too deep for this sort of update on the book review. But again, so far we've raised $317.45. I want to especially thank the several people that have already contributed to help out. If you would like to help out and support the effort and help crowdsource this book that will be a landmark in flat Earth history going forward, you can do so via PayPal. There's a direct link that makes it a little easier. It's paypal.me/TheMorgile1. What is up, everybody? John TheMorgile here for a quick update on the book that I'm working on, The Morgiles Guide to the Flat Earth. I'm crowdsourcing support in order to, write and publish the book. I want to give you guys an update on it. I have received a little bit of community support, which is greatly appreciated. So I want to do a couple of quick shout outs. Quick shout out to Richard V, Desiree L, Anders L, Matthew D, James W, Amanda M, Stephen H, Thomas V, Maximo S, and Dominic. And so far, since I've launched the crowd